Alright, Brian from Garage Mahal. Today we are doing a tune-up and a thermostat change on a 2001 Jetta. These are actually pretty easy. Not too many tools that you need. I just brought out some basic stuff. And I started loosening some stuff like the brackets on this, the air handler. A couple guys will actually tell you that you can kind of go in from the side to get at the spark plugs and stuff instead of having to remove this. I like to remove this just because it's a little bit easier access, plus we are actually changing the wires out, so we're putting new wires in. First and foremost, get rid of your dipstick, because I don't know who you are or what you do, but I always break those suckers like completely off. I find it just probably easier just to get them right out of the way from the get-go. Here's my little socket, and it's a 5 millimeter, and you just loosen it up. And sometimes you can pull straight up on that, but honestly, they break so easy. I can't tell you how many I've broken over the years, and you know, of course it's a part that breaks, and you know, somehow you end up absorbing it into the price of the repair, and you know, it's not good for the customer. It's not good for you. You lose profits. Customer gets charged more, and basically just disconnect that. And if it's not too old, they usually twist out. Usually, and I ripped my glove. Usually they twist out pretty easy, but my recommendation, get that out of the way, because you're going to end up breaking it and probably breaking a pair of gloves. So, alright, let my hand dry down, but you have two 5 millimeter, actually three, 1, 2, 3 millimeters, 5 millimeters up here. Tongue's not working today. And you have a cutout here. Some of these actually have a secondary bolt that goes in there, so there would be two more. This one does not that I see, but it may. Yeah, actually it does. So that slot you can get in there with a 5 millimeter as well. Alright, so 5 millimeter, or you can use a 3/16 straight Allen key to get in there. Okay, so you want to get into these little slots here. Okay, here we go. Loosen those. Avalanche, okay. No. And I always like to make sure that I put a little paper towel in that hole where the dipstick was. Stuff falls in there like a bolt or anything else that you get loose. But anyway, so these are your straight Allen key sockets, and like I said, this is a 3/16, but it's actually 5mm. My 5mm is just a little bit too wide to get down in there, so just kind of a heads up on that. And then we'll just use this little yellow one to get those loose. And one was actually loose from before. Now, in the essence of time, I'm going to put this on a little adapter, just so I can kind of like whiz through some of this a little bit faster for you. Now, on the back of these 2.0 engines, you have two Uller sockets. You have two Uller screws in the back. And I use a configuration something like this. And you'll see one back here that you can kind of get to. Depending on your wrench, you can even go in a little bit shorter. And I keep this on because the one in the middle is a little bit of a longer configuration and a little more difficult to get to. And you can usually get them, once they're loose, you can kind of get them off by hand. But if you watch my channel, you know I like my little power tools every moment I can get, just because I think they're a time saver. Big time saver. I don't think I know they're a time saver. Okay, so I think we finally got this one loose enough. Okay, so that's your 6. Then there's one way further back here that I kind of pre-loosened before, but I think it's going to need a couple more TLC cranks to get this thing out. I have enough of an angle I can get my little power gizmo in there. So that's your second one. Like I said, everything in there is kind of squeezed in nice and tight. And let me see what else I gotta loosen up this line here. Take that out. And then everything kind of lifts up out of the way. Now, you got no way to really mount that anywhere or move it out of the way. So I like using bungee cords. So, and like I said, you want to make sure that these two screws aren't going to fall into your air manifold. You got your gasket there, and then simply run a bungee cord, and then that sucker's out of your way. Okay, so you got your gasket up there. That you would definitely want to make sure nothing's going to get into. So I like to use a couple of paper towels. Make sure no debris gets lost in there, or more importantly, any bolts get lost. Okay, so you got your wires, and where did it, oh, this sucker went there, so that broke. Okay, so we'll have to pay particular attention at fixing that at the end when that comes up. Alright, so I missed the line. It happens. What can you do? So, just put this little bracket on here. broke off here. Get them out of the way while we're here. Okay. Alright, so remind me to fix that when we get there. Okay, so anyway, you got your 4 plugs here, and we're gonna have to get to the coil, and then these little things just kind of pop out of the way. Squeeze them, and then they kind of release. They're supposed to release anyway. Alright, there we go. I was just trying to get some twist motion on that. That one goes out of the way. And then there is a single bolt that is holding it right there. And then this little snap connection. That's probably a 10 mil. And like I said, these are all configured. These 2.0, the 1.9s, 1.8, they're all configured similarly, but they all have little different pieces on them. And it actually has a 10 millimeter back there as well. So we're going to get that. And this is going to give us access to our coil back there. You can see all the lines are numbered pretty nicely ahead of time. Okay, now do we have to get this out completely, or do we have enough room to get around it? And I don't think we have enough room to get around it. So we're going to break that little wire connection there too. Or can we slip this kind of out of the way? Okay. So I'm not put too much tension on that. I think we can just kind of flip her out of the way right there. Okay. So you have access to all your coil. Your coil's here. Customer actually didn't want to buy a new coil, but that's fine. We'll keep that one. Had a couple misfires is the main reason why we are changing this one out completely. And it's always helpful if you have one of these coil removal tools. Sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not, but you kind of like slip it around, and if anything it just helps you kind of twist that wire enough to loosen it so you can pull it out. You're supposed to counterclockwise, and then there we go, and then pull up on it. Like I said, they work most of the time, but they're typically more aggravating than anything else. Alright, so this is probably going to be our longest wire, coil number 1. Okay. So, and always replace your wires when you replace spark plugs. A lot of guys like to recycle them. You know, I don't know. They're just, to me, it's a wear part. You just wear, they wear, and they become like garbage. Okay, so is that my longest or is this my longest? Okay, that is my longest. That looks a little short, but we'll see if we can make it work. Okay, so that's your old wire, that's your new wire. Alright, and spark plugs. Should be 5/8. if I remember correctly, but let's consult the new plugs. And a lot of guys don't like these auto light plugs, but I haven't had any real issues with them. Okay, so let's get the new plug in. Socket extension. And if you notice, I actually have this car raised a little bit. I'm actually not that short, but I figured let me just raise it, make life easier. I think I have this loose enough. Okay. And I dropped her. Okay. Let's get the handy dandy wrench. Handy dandy pliers. Man, I just can't talk today. Alright, here we go. And that is one burnt spark plug. Okay, so that one's garbage. Put the new one in. And what I like using is I have a couple old boots laying around, and I like these to just put on the end, kind of put down in there. And you can kind of twist it once or twice, have a grab. In this case, I probably got a little bit too much grab on there. Alright, here we go. Oh. That's not what I wanted to have happen. Okay, and this one's got a weird well to it, so I'm going to use a pair of pliers to get it down into the well. And then I'm going to use a regular socket, 5/8, so it doesn't, because a lot of times those little rubber things, they grab on too tight to the plug. It's great for pulling plugs out, but putting them in, that boot sometimes just, I don't know, gets on there really tight. I don't know if that's just me, or give me your thoughts and comments in the bottom about that. Okay. Torque that down to spec. Let's see how easy that comes up. So, to me, just makes life a little bit easier. And then we have this new spark plug wire. And, I always like to give these a little shot at WD, just to make them go on a lot easier. And sometimes, alright, and seat these. After you spray them down with WD-40, you can kind of line them up and kind of push them into place. Sometimes I like just taking a plier on the top, get on the outside of the metal, just kind of push them into place. And don't squeeze them together, just push it so they snap down. Okay, so that one's down. Okay. That wire is way too short. Alright, so we're back. The blue wires I had actually were the wrong set that I was sent, and the replacement set was not going to be here for about a week. Thank you, COVID. Local auto parts store, they wanted way too much based on what the customer's budget was, so we are actually going to reuse these spark plug wires. Something I normally don't do, but in these times, that is what we are faced with. So these wires don't look bad, but I'm a big advocate on always changing your wires. I mean, if you, they just break down. It's a wear item. So anyway, all right. And if you don't have that fancy dancy tool I was using, you actually can use a pair of long nose pliers like this, and they can pull that wire out pretty easy. And like I said, we're tight in here behind that fuel bar, so be careful. And then we'll switch sockets again, and next we'll get this plug out, and because I like to cheat a little bit, it'll just make this part go a little bit faster. Okay. You can definitely use that to take them out, but definitely don't use that to put them back in. Alright. Spark plug number 2. That one doesn't look too bad, but garbage all the same. Plier, put the new plug into the well. Okay. I'll use the other plug. Other socket. God, I keep saying the wrong things today. Alright, so twist this one in there. Crank that one down. Alright, so that one's good to go. Everything's just sliding all over the place. Okay. Now I'll just scooch this wire back in. Another fuel rail, which I've actually seen guys take the fuel rail out, which sometimes may not be a bad idea, but talk about making this job go a lot longer. And sometimes if you can't get that angle, you might actually have to do that. Okay. Then, like I said, pliers, let's give that a little push down there. Okay, I think we're down. I think we're down in there. Okay, good. Okay, next wire. See, like pair of needle nose. Pair of needle nose and a 10mm, you fix just about anything. Alright. This one is should be a little tight in there. Okay, just enough to get that out of the way. I'll put this on. Okay. And another plug. That one's kind of wet, so you know that one wasn't firing. Okay. Sloping needle nose. Alright, there we go. That was a little more difficult than it had to be. Snake this back in here. We're good, and the last one. Four. We're done with that. And another wet plug. Okay, last but not least. Good. Twist it in place. Good. Alright, so that is basically your tune-up part in a nutshell. And that's basically putting everything back together again. Mount those wires in place. Now while we have some of this stuff apart over here, I have to replace this thermostat that has gone bad, and it's going to leak all over the place. So I'll give you a general idea. It was giving an overheat sensor. However, it didn't look like it was overheating at all. So and what I mean by that is the gauge seemed to be good, but it was giving a high temp error. But I'm going to show you how quick and easy this is to replace. And this looks like this thermostat actually has been replaced before, because it's not the original one. And a lot of guys like to empty out this whole thermostat, or empty out the radiator to be able to do this. But I'm going to show you pretty much how quick and easy this goes. Let me just get that set. So basically just pull up on that, and before we lose too much liquid, push that new one. right down in there. Actually, that old O-ring is still in there. Okay, so it's gonna leak a little bit. Let me get that old O-ring out. And usually that O-ring usually comes right out, but for whatever reason today it decided not to come out because I said I was going to show you how to do this really fast. Okay, so there is the O-ring. Okay, and again, new sensor. Sit that down. Push it nice and easy. Then when you line your tab up, and you get some more light on here so you guys can see this a little bit better. And then you basically just put the new fittings in. Make sure you just have it seated enough. And then that just snaps right in there. Put your sensor back on top. And you're in business. So, quick and easy. Very little fluid loss. And just one glove loss. Alright, so that was your old sensor in and out. Like I said, these usually go bad, but that's garbage. Okay, next you're going to be doing the thermostat, which is located. And if I got the pictures left, I'll post all the errors. The thermostat is located down underneath there in that housing. So we're going to get those two pieces out, and I think we can almost do without removing the alternator. But it looks like that plug might be in the way. But maybe I got some room I can get it from underneath there. Alright, so presumably that's probably going to be a 10mm socket like everything in the universe. And then here is the new thermostat. Oh, you're going to make sure you got a pan underneath. I already do. That's the other reason why I raised this up a little bit, so I can kind of get in there. Put my pan in. So this should be 10mm, I believe. Yep, it's a 10mm. So let me get a new glove. And so far, these are ripping pretty easy. These are these Raven Nitrile. I like getting a hardy 7mm. I think these are 6. So the extra millimeter gives you a lot more protection. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is bring that clamp back on that hose. Twist it back. Okay, then that hose will give a little bit of a twist. Then it should come back out. Maybe a little more persuasion is needed. Okay. Okay, you can hear it dripping into my pan down below. I'll put that there. Then that's a 10mm. We're going to put that on a wobble, I believe, so we can get in there pretty good. Okay, so that should work. Do a little cleanup, 5/8 away. Put that extension away. See if I can't sneak that light back in here. I don't know if that's helpful or not. I'm going to get definitely a longer extension. Had one in my hand, got rid of it. Let's see if I can't get that out by hand. Alright, so put that one there. And then that bottom one. A little more trickier. Hopefully you can see that. This is why I love being a mechanic, because you get into all these nice little vicariously difficult spots to get into that nobody else in their right mind would try to get into. And that's how you use 10 millimeters. All right. Let's get another 10 mil. We'll get this one, and I think I'm going to try a universal on this. So universal gets in there pretty good. Hopefully you guys got a good angle on that. Okay, I think we're out. No, we're not out completely. Now we'll have to get the universal back in there. Well, you can see why I took the oil dipstick out, because that was just going to be a little vicariously difficult. Put another extension. I think I'm going to have to put a socket on this, or a wrench on this. I think that might have been good enough. Yep. And I dropped the bolt, of course. Well, that's okay. That's what flashlights and little magnetic catcher tools are for. And you wonder why I had that out here? That's exactly why I had that out here. Okay, again, there's your thermostat. Now, I just grab it with a pair of needle nose. That sucker is in there pretty good. go. And we don't need that. We'll let that drain out. And like I said, that's why I put that pin there. Alright, so you put your thermostat in first, and then you want to line up your O-ring, so it kind of fits in like that. Then you can put your housing back on. So everything kind of fits nice and snug. Let's get this top bolt kind of situated. So I'm just going to make that a little snug, just so it holds everything in there. So I can line up that bottom one. Alright, that looks like it's probably about good. Let's get this bottom bolt in there. It's going to obviously be easier said than done. Alright, we're going to have to use a pair of needle nose. Get that bottom bolt in. And we kind of have it set. So we got it on there. We're going to use our little universal joint to kind of help put it in a hole and turn her until she finds her threads. Okay. Going in slow, a little choppy. Now this part definitely want to do by hand because you definitely don't want to strip that. Okay, then once you get in far enough, you'll be able to put the ratchet on it. torque that top one down. And we're going to go back down to this aggravating bottom one. Okay, there we go. Now we torque it down. Okay. All right, now I can put this lower hose on. Okay. Add my sweatshirt into place. Okay, so there you go. That is your quick and easy, well, somewhat quick, somewhat easy thermostat replacement. Now obviously you want to top this off, so you've lost quite a bit of fluid. So just open that cap up. And we have Volkswagen, they use the orange coolant. So let's see how good I can get this without funnel. Okay. Alright, so we're going to end up having to put some more in there, but other than that, this job is completely done. So that was your quick temperature gauge replacement, your thermostat, and then your quick tune-up. So hopefully you found that pretty helpful. And like I said, now we can put everything back together. This was your little 10 millimeters. That goes back in place there. This gets snapped on top of here. Then a bigger piece. Okay. Now I'm going to take these paper towels out. Bungee cord out of place. And then this will slide back down. Before you get too far ahead, make sure that you put these two in the back here. Okay, and then just line basically everything kind of up. Yeah, I'm just prepping everything today. Okay. Alright, so I was quiet there for a little bit. Definitely get my concentration on. And this one was that fun one. Okay, we're good there. Now we can tighten this front part down. All right, so now we are done with that. I'll have to fix that in a little bit. All right, so these are all good. I can put all these brackets back into place. Good there. And that's not quite where that goes, but let's get that a little more. Okay. Alright, so that's all good. That's all somewhat kind of tight. And then this one is the one that we broke before. Okay. Oops. Alright, so that's all fixed. That's good. Alright, that's basically everything. This job is done. Now, I'm just going to need some more fluid to put in there. And let's not forget to put this back in. Need dipstick. that's it. This is Brian from Garage Mahal. These usually are a lot easier than that, but anyway, it gives you a quick overview of what you're going to be doing, and setting up all your wires, your plugs, your temperature gauge, and then your thermostat. But anyway, Brian from Garage Mahal, have a great day. Be safe out there.